Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about how to finalize your research paper, or what we're going to call your fact sheet, and make sure it's formatted properly. You can see the assignment is listed here, formatting your final research paper. And the first step says to open your final research paper that you typed last week. Make sure it is completely typed and that the sources are listed at the bottom of the page. So you're going to simply go back to last week's assignment, and you should see that final paper, that template that we had listed there. That is what you want opened to do your formatting. Okay, so we're going to pretend like I opened it, and this is the one that I have typed and printed. So remember, again, in order to move on and actually follow this video, you need to make sure you have all of your different headings typed. Make sure that there are the same number of spaces between. So you can see that I have my title, and by the name, I have one space, appearance, and then the words. One space, habitat, and then the words. And it needs to look like that all the way down to sources. Underneath of sources, you should have the 2 citations that you created using EasyBib. If you did not do that yet, please stop this video, go back to last week's assignment, and create your citations first before you do anything else. Okay? If you have all of this done, then you're exactly where you need to be, and we're going to get started today. So the first thing you need to do is come up under File. We're actually going to make a copy of this so that it has a new name and that we're not affecting the original in case something happens in our formatting that we need to go back to. So we're going to say Make a Copy. And you're going to change the title. I want it to be your first and last name. So I'm going to pretend I'm this Krista Love girl. Krista Love. And then you're going to say Fact Sheet. And that way I know this is the one that you are finishing, you're formatting, and this is what you want me to grade as your final paper. So first and last name and the word Fact Sheet, and then Make a Copy. Okay, and then it should open up a brand new tab with it labeled the way that you want it labeled. You can then go ahead and close your old one so we don't accidentally mix those things up. And now we're ready to work. All right, so I'd like you to pause the video here and go ahead and do that now. Okay, now that we're back, we're going to start first by going through and actually formatting the title itself. So just like we do with anything, we're going to highlight first, right? Because that's how we talk to the computer. We say, hey, computer, I want you to look at these words and change them the way that I want you to change them. So we're highlighting them. You're going to pick a font, a size, and you can do a color here if you would like. So I'm going to pick something that's going to stand out since it is the title. I'm going to make it pretty big, maybe 24. And I think that I'm going to make it this kind of dark maroony color because I like that. Okay, by the name can stay exactly like that because that's just a byline, and those are usually smaller, and it's going to be underneath. And then I also want to center the title. So you have what's called justifications here. So these alignment, when you click down on that, it gives you option of left, center, or right. So we're going to center. We never want to space or tab over to center something. We always want to use these alignment buttons. So when I do that, it's going to jump it right to the middle of the screen. And then it's going to be centered just the way that we want it to be. All right, so again, pause the video here, format your title, and center it in the screen. Good. Now we're going to come back and we're going to do all of our headings. So we're going to double click. Remember, the easiest way to highlight an entire word is to double click. So it's click, click, go click, click, and it highlights the whole word for me. Whatever font that you decide you're going to use as your heading here, you're going to use it on all of them. I want all the headings to match and be exactly the same. So in this case, I think I'm going to use this Acme one. We can make it slightly bigger. I would say maybe a 14, not too much bigger than that because we don't want it to be obnoxiously large or as big as our title. It's just a standout heading. And then if you'd like to add something like an underline, that would be fine as well. I'm not going to do that. I think that I just like it like that, and maybe with an italics just to kind of have it stand out. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do that for each of them. Double click, change it to my font, and add italics, size 14. And I'm going to go through and do each of those right now. And you can see it doesn't take very long if you just work your way through. Italics, population, and actually I'll show you a little trick here. So see how I just double clicked on population? If I hold the control button down on my keyboard, okay? Control. I'm holding control and I'm just going to double click each of these words. See how it's highlighting only those words and nothing in between? Now I can change all of them at once, all of them to the size 14, and italicize all of them. And I'll do that again with interesting facts, hold down control, double click sources, and change it to match them all. You want them all to match. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video here and do the same thing to your headings. You can make them whatever font you want. Just make sure that they all match all the way down this to the bottom of sources. Okay, very good. Next thing we are going to do is change these into columns. So this is important that we do it in this particular way. We're going to start at appearance, and we are going to drag this all the way down and stop where it says wildlife. Okay, so all the way down to there. I do not want you to go on to sources, and I don't want you to include the title and your name. We're only putting the actual article itself into columns. So see how that's all that's highlighted. Once you highlight it like this, you're going to come up to Format, choose Columns, and we're going to come over here to these two columns like that and click along like that. All right, so now you can see I didn't affect my title. I didn't affect my sources. I just have this in two separate columns like this. Okay, and don't change anything yet because we are going to move things around based on once we put our pictures in, but that's a whole nother thing. Okay, so just make sure you have your two and make sure your sources are still along the lines of like this. And then we're going to change the sources to look slightly different in 1 minute. So what I want you to do, highlight from appearance down to interesting facts, and then go to Format, Columns, and make it two columns. Okay, go ahead and do that now and then come back to the video. All right, so next thing we're going to do, I got to get rid of these pictures for you. We're going to put the sources into what's called the footer. And if you come down to the bottom of the page and you double click on the bottom of the page, you're going to see that the footer is down here. And it's this little extra section that shows up at the bottom of pages that's outside of the normal margins where you work. Okay, so you are not in the actual body of the page, you're in the footer itself. There's also a header at the top, but we're just going to work with the footer today. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to tab over our sources. So you're going to click in front of your first source and you're going to use the tab key. It's next to the letter Q on your keyboard, and hit tab one time. Okay, and it's okay if that second line doesn't tab over. That's actually the way it's supposed to look. But we're going to do the same thing for the second one. Click in front of your second source and hit tab. That's the proper format for sources. They should be tabbed over on that first line. The next thing I want you to do is actually center the word sources. So once again, you're going to click in sources, come over to our alignment, and use the center button here to center the sources so it's centered in the page like that. All right, go ahead and pause your video and go and do that now. Okay, very good. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to shrink all of this down to a pretty small size. So I'm going to highlight like this all the way up so that I have both of my sources and the title sources all highlighted. And we're going to shrink this down to about a size 9. Okay, we want it pretty small because sources are, they're important, but they're not like the main thing that we're looking at on the screen. And then we're going to actually cut these things out. So I'm going to highlight like this, and then we're going to cut. And if you remember, there's two ways you can cut. You can either right click and choose cut, or you can use the shortcut, which is Control X, right? Control X cuts it out. It makes it disappear. Then we're going to come down here to where the footer is. I'm going to double click all the way at the bottom of the page, go click, click into my footer, and then I'm going to paste with Control V. All right, so now I have my sources down here at the very bottom of the page in the footer, away from my actual paper itself. The last thing we're going to do is change the format of the paper itself. So we're going to come up here, we're going to do what's called page settings. So if you come up to File, and you might have to scroll down to see it, to where it says Page Setup, select Page Setup, okay? And I would like you to change all of your margins here to 0.5, so 0.5. We're just going to go in and we're going to change them to 1/2 inch, so that we're getting as many words and pictures and things on this one page as we can. And then the other thing we're going to do is change this to landscape. So right now, portrait means the paper's up and down. We're going to change it side to side. So you're going to change this over to landscape. And then once you've done landscape and 0.5 all the way down, you can go ahead and click OK. All right, so you're going to pause your video now and go ahead and do those two things for me. And then come back. All right, so if your words went down to the next page like this for whatever reason, you're going to simply click in front of Appearance and you're going to hit Backspace until you get them to come up to the top. Why this won't come up to the top, I don't know. Hold on one second. Let's try doing it like this. Why did this page not go? Oh, probably because I forgot to do this page in landscape as well. So I just have to go ahead and change this one as well. So if you found that that happened, that your first page is still in portrait mode, just go and click up in your title and do the same thing. File, Page Setup, Landscape, and then 0.5 all the way down. There we go. And now I have all of my headings and things that came around to the other side. All right, so this is good. So I know this looks kind of weird right now because Interesting Facts almost kind of comes over here, but doesn't quite. That's fine, because actually what we're going to do in the next video is find 3 images to insert. And as we insert them in, it's going to move the words around to fill this second column. All right, so this is really where I want you to stop today. So your paper should look something similar to mine, where you have your title big at the top, you have your name here, all of your headings match, right? We have equal spacing between them. And then you have your sources down to a size 9, and it's inserted into the footer. And you are in landscape mode with a 0.5 margin all the way around. Okay, if you have successfully done all of those things and you have completed the work that you need to have done today, if you have any questions, as usual, please just raise your hand and I'll be happy to come over and help you. Hopefully you were able to follow along with this pretty easily. And like I said, next week we will, or next class I should say, we will insert the pictures and images and finalize everything to complete this project. All right, good luck with everything and let me know if you need help.